Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Monday Night Travel with Rick Steves Europe. We're doing something special now. It's called the Festival of Europe. We're on night 2 of our 22-night virtual travel extravaganza. We're exploring Italy's top cities, Venice, Florence, and Rome, with Rick and our special guest, Anna Piperato. Now, on behalf of our 5,000 plus households who are joining us tonight, I'd like you to put your travel dreams in the upright and locked position as I have the pleasure to introduce our host for the evening, Rick Steves. Hello, Rick.
Lisa, I love it when you encourage us to raise our travel dreams to their upright and locked positions. And right now, my travel dreams are taking me to Italy. And we're going to just go to Venice, Florence, and Rome. We're going to be joined by a wonderful guide, and we're going to celebrate Europe. So thank you, Lisa, for kicking this off, and thank all of you for joining us. And right now, I'm just going to remind you, this is our January Festival of Europe. We are meeting every night at this hour until January 30th, and each evening we're celebrating a different dimension of Europe. And the dimension today is urban Italy. So thanks for joining us. And I'd like to just jump right in. I'm going to just share my screen and show you a few slides here and remind you that we are all travel buddies. And with this sort of evening, we can share notes. This is a shot of over 100 Rick Steves Europe guides. And every night when we join you, I'll be hosting almost every night an event, and I'll be joined by a guide who's joining us from Europe, meaning they got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to join this party. And that's just great. Here's our schedule for the month. Today we are day number 2, Italy's cities. Tomorrow, Lisa is going to be the host, and she's joined by Jeannie from London. And then Thursday, I'll be back with you for a little bit of Spain with Federico. And then we go to Scandinavia and Switzerland and back to Italy's countryside. If you're a Monday night traveler, you know, for 100 Mondays now, we have gotten together on Mondays, but this is different. We've got 22 evenings in a row, and we are just travel buddies. I want to remind you, we are a tour company. We have 100 colleagues here in Seattle, and every year we take 25 or 30,000 people to Europe on a tour. We'll be selling tours this month, that's for sure. We'll actually be giving away tours also. Every Monday for the next 3 Mondays, we will have a drawing, and anybody who attends one of our lectures or who gets in the list we'll have your name in the digital pile, and we'll draw one, and it could be you, and you'll get your choice of a free Rick Steves 7-day city tour to our 4 favorite cities, then Rome, Paris, London, or Istanbul. For details on that, if you're watching right now, tomorrow you will get an email, and that will have a link to how you can just put your name in the bucket, and maybe you will win. Also, I want to remind you that anybody who books a tour this month gets $100 off. But I also want to remind you that this is a month to celebrate travel, whether you're taking a Rick Steves tour or just going on your own. Of course, we've got some good guidebooks. You can grab a guidebook and have the same kind of adventure, and you can be your own guide. So we'll be inspiring and equipping people to take a look at the favorite dimensions of European travel. Here we have what we call our spaghetti map, and that is all the different tours that we put together. At Rick Steves Europe, we have 40 different itineraries. Last year, we took 25,000 people on those 40 different itineraries, 1,000 departures, about 25 people per group. If you look at the biggest density of spaghetti on that spaghetti map, it is Italy. And today we're going to look at the 3 great cities of Italy, Venice, Florence, and Rome. I want to do a quick review of which itineraries cover those cities or visit those cities. And I want to remind you that you're welcome to copycat our itineraries as you put your own independent travel dreams into smooth and affordable reality. You can book onto one of our tours, or you can use these very thoughtful itineraries to do it yourself. This is what we consider the best 3 weeks in Europe if you want an introductory tour. And 8 of those days are in Italy, 2 days in Venice, 2 days in Florence, 2 days in Rome, and 2 days on the Cinque Terre. If you just want to focus in on Italy, this is what we would do for the best of Italy in 17 days. And of course, that includes Venice, Florence, and Rome with a lot more. If you want to do the heart of Italy, This is the best 9 days we could go for a variety of great cities, great art, hill towns, and Mediterranean resort, starting in Rome, and then going to our favorite hill town, Volterra, our favorite part of the Riviera, the Cinque Terre, and finishing in Florence. I was just doing that itinerary a month ago, and I absolutely love it. If you've had the best of Italy and you want more, you can go south. We have a very popular tour that features the best of South Italy, starting in Rome and finishing in Naples. We have a My Way tour that does this route, and a My Way tour is about $1,000 cheaper for the same amount of days, and it just comes with a guidebook and an escort that can make sure that you are pointed in the right direction. You get the same bus ride, the same hotels, but you're on your own. That's a My Way. It's for the more independent travelers. It's for the travelers who want to take it a little easier. It's great for families, and it's great for people on a tighter budget. Also, we have a Village Italy tour. And if you look at that itinerary, there's no famous stops. All of the famous cities are done in the Best of Italy tour. And this is the intimate, artisan, village, countryside, agriturismo kind of Italy. And that is very popular for people who have done the big hits and they want to go back for a more intimate look at our favorite country. Our newest itinerary is the Best of Tuscany. I've not taken this tour yet, and we had great success with this tour last year. And it's my hope that I'm going to actually sign up on this tour this coming year. Every chance I get, I book onto one of our tours these days incognito. I sign up with a pseudonym. I just surprise the gang on the first meeting, and then I'm part of the group. I just love enjoying our guides showing us around. And if you like Tuscany, this is a great opportunity. 12 days in that most popular region of Italy. The focus today, as we gather, is going to be Venice, Florence, and Rome. And we'll be together for the next hour talking about Venice, Florence, and Rome. And I am joined by my friend and fellow tour guide I'm so happy to introduce. And I would like right now to welcome Anna Piperato to join us. Hey, Anna, how you doing?
Ciao Rick, buonasera a tutti. Good evening to you all.
Buonasera. And you're coming to us from Siena, is that right?
From Siena, exactly, in the middle of the night, but it's okay. For you, I'll do it.
What time is it right now for you?
It's 3:11 in the morning.
3:11 in the morning. All right. Hey, Anna, I'm just, I want to kind of get going with the party. And I was going to have some wine, but I saw you're drinking a spritz, aren't you?
Well, just because it's 3 a.m., don't judge me.
Well, I just scrambled as the introductory music was playing, and I got myself set up for a spritz, and I'd like your help. I have my ice cubes and my little orange wedges. I've got my Aperol, right?
Perfetto. I would say put about a third of Aperol in there, and then you're going to want to add
Prosecco.
Prosecco, esatto, and then just until the color that you like. I like a nice deep orange myself, and a wedge of orange to make it look artistic.
Oh, that's nice. So, and Prosecco, of course, is the Italian champagne. We can't call it champagne legally unless it's made in Champagne country in France, but it's the champagne method. And this is going to be delightful. Don't you love that color?
It's beautiful. So, chin chin.
Chin chin.
Ooh,
oh, baby. How do you say oh, baby in Italian? I know how you say oh, baby. You do this. Delizioso.
Va bene. Tu puoi fare come vuoi. Comunque, io farei così, cin cin, sì, va bene, delizioso.
Hey, to all of our travelers there, here's to your travel dreams, and thanks for joining us. And that is really good. I like this Aperol Spritz because I like to go local. And when I'm anywhere in Italy, and if I go to a piazza, you can see the sun when it's setting, shining through this glass, and you see 50 of these glasses. It's just like kind of like romantic fireflies of Italian culture, or it's like a big, tall glass of Italy. And what I want to do tonight is you and me be people's swizzle sticks, okay? We're going to stir it up, and we're going to celebrate some Italy. So, hey, Anna, which of those tours that I just went through have you actually guided on a Rick Steves tour?
The Best of Italy, the Venice, Florence, Rome, the Heart of Italy, and Village Italy.
Okay. And how did you originally, I forget how we finally connected. How did you learn who we were, and how did you get on board?
Actually, my sister, it's all down to my sister. She said years and years ago, she took a tour with one of your books and she said, Annie, this is the job for you. I didn't listen to her for another 5 years, but I just kind of fell into it, leaving academia, following my dream of living in Italy, and just kind of knowing someone who knew you. And 3 interviews later, here I am.
There you go. And you are our go-to guide in Siena. You've been a great help when I'm in Siena updating the guidebooks. And of course, you've been on our Circle of Italian Guides. And it's so nice for you to join us today. I do want to remind people that Anna also does, like most of our guides, guiding on the side. And Anna, tell us quickly what you do on the side when you're not doing a Rick Steves tour.
Well, I teach art history classes to study abroad students here in Siena, and I have a website, SienaItalyTours.com, ooh, promo, and I do local tours in Siena and also Florence. So
that's great. We've got a link to your website in the chat section right here on our webinar. So now let's just head out here. I'm going to go back to our slideshow, Anna, and you and I are just going to kind of have some fun talking our way through all of this Italian adventure. And let me just say we're going to start in Venice. And when you're taking your group to Venice, it's a remarkable experience because we've got all of this history and all of this culture really on an island that has changed very little in the last 800 years. I mean, when you look at that island, it's shaped like a fish. You come in at the mouth, and then this grand canal is like the grand intestine, and it dumps everybody out right there. Isn't that a romantic way to put it?
romantic.
The San Marco, and you got the Basilica and the Doge's Palace, and it's all a walk away. You can walk from the train station to St. Mark's Square in about, half an hour or 40 minutes, I suppose. And as you walk, you can also consider hopping on a vaporetto. And a vaporetto is a way to just get around more in a hurry. And you've got this grand church on the main square, St. Mark's Basilica, and you've got the Arsenal, a reminder that 800 years ago, Venice was the most powerful city in Europe. It was the trading empire, and it was just a mighty city. And you've got the big trading center right there in front of the Doge's Palace. And what's remarkable to me is if you look at an old painting of Venice and you look at it today, it's amazing, isn't it, Anna? What do you think when you look at this kind of a painting?
Well, I mean, that painting in particular takes me right back to Carnevale last year. I went for the first time, and you see people dressed like this with their masks on going through town, and you lose your sense of time in the world, and you're just back to Venice in the 18th century, and it's just absolutely amazing. I mean, Venice is a city that has constantly adapted, and it really shouldn't exist until you're there. I didn't believe it existed until I finally went there.
What's amazing to me is it's 2 parallel worlds. You've got your thriving touristic sort of playground, and you've got your world of the Venetians. And there's just 60 or 70,000 people are living on the island anymore. So the population is actually going down, but they are proud. They've got roots. And as you travel around in Venice, you will be able to have this romantic approach to a town that has not changed. You look at the old paintings and you look at it today, and it's just swap out the people and you've got about the same thing. Of course, you've got the Doge's Palace, and in there's this just beautiful wallpapered with paintings. And our challenge as guides is to organize in it, isn't it? Now, here I am. I'm the tour guide with this group, but of course, we have local guides that we love to give the mic to, and then you or I would play the support role. Who is this here, and what's going on at this moment with our tour group in Venice?
Well, this is Miss Venice herself, Betta, a fantastic local guide. And Venice is probably one of the cities in the world where you really want to have a local take you around, because no matter how many times I've been there, I still get lost in the little calli, which I love, but not so much with 25 people behind me. But Betta will tell you what it's like growing up in Venice, the high waters throughout the year, the challenges of going to school when you have to take a boat to get there.
And it's just nice to have that sort of connection, and they will know the artisans, and they can introduce us to the people who make the masks, and we get a chance to be in the front row and watch that tradition that is living to this day. And then we wander down the street further, and a lot of people are worried about getting lost in Venice. What's your philosophy about that, Anna?
If you don't get lost, you've not done it right, because you will get lost. A lot, but it's just a scenic detour to find something else you didn't know you were looking for.
Yep. I would say get as lost as you can. Keep reminding yourself, I'm on an island and I can't get off. And when you want to find your way, what do?
Well, you just look for signs, but sometimes those signs can be a bit confusing.
Yeah, if you look at this
Because-
one, for San Marco. So the signs point to where the nearest famous landmark is. And in this case, it's both directions.
Exactly. So you can't really make a mistake. And just know that a spritz is that way and that way. Also, a basilica.
And most exciting, you've got all the tourist crowds where all the tourist crowds are, and that's in the famous places. But if you walk 10 minutes in any direction, you could become a poet. You could set up an easel and be a painter. You can just be inspired by having your own private Venice. This is just, look at this delightful spot. Look at that delightful spot.
Yeah, just really even 2 minutes off of all the crowds, you'll find yourself in a place like this. And I guarantee, I think the best cappuccino in town is just down there. So take a left, another left again. And then you're in the open water. Oh.
And then you water and you go, oh, okay, I'm at the end of the road. I can find my way back. A big part of Venice, of course, is the gondolas. And one of the experiences that, is high on anybody's list is a gondola ride. For you as a guide, how's the gondola experience?
I love it. The first time I went, I almost cried, and I will never say no to a gondola ride. Oh, that rhymed. But you really can't understand Venice until you see it from the water level. And the best way to do that is on a gondola with your new friends, and we can help arrange that for you.
Nice. And of course, you can go under the romantic Bridge of Sighs. And it's just it's an angle of Venice that really is missed if all you do is go to the big squares. Quite romantic. And if you don't want to go on a gondola, you can go on a traghetto where there's no bridge. You've got a ferry gondola. And last time I was guiding a group through Venice, I really had fun. We saved 10 minutes of walking because we needed to cross the canal and there was no bridge nearby. And it was just a fun way to have that experience.
It's super cheap, but you can tell you're not a local, Rick, because you're not standing up. Next time.
I don't think the gondola would want me standing up. I'd probably end up in.
No, they'll make you sit down.
Yeah. A challenge for us is to find a good meal, a good memorable meal for us. And when you're in Venice, the last thing you want to do is have a fast food international kind of restaurant. You want to eat the beautiful bounty of the lagoon, really. Wonderful seafood in Venice.
I always encourage everyone to eat all the squiggly things because they're just absolutely delicious. I never thought I would eat all of these things, but when they're presented in front of you so beautifully, you can't say no. And if you really don't like it, just have an extra sip of your spritz. Yep. It's fine.
And some seafood pasta would be a very good Venetian treat.
Oh, yes. Lovely shrimp there and zucchini, typical meal there. And whenever you go out anywhere, just ask the server, what's fresh today? What do you recommend?
What's fresh? Last time I was there, I was just in the mood for a pizza and I had a zucchini flour pizza. And it was, I even imagined that. And it was wonderful. One great challenge for us is to connect with locals and then to connect those locals with our travelers. This is a man named Gigi. And I think for 30 years, I've been taking groups to Gigi's bar. And Gigi loves to serve the local tapas, chiqueto, ugly things on toothpicks, wash it down with some local wine, and you've got yourself an unforgettable experience. But that's what the Venetians do, going into a bar and having some snacks, some toothpick snacks in these characteristic bars. Or you can go to the main square and listen to the musicians play and sit there in all that old world elegance. Tell us what happens when you what happens if you get some barometric pressure and a wind and a high tide all at the same time? You got yourself a flood, don't you?
You got yourself a flood, but it's quite fun actually to see the water. Look at that picture with St. Mark's reflected in St. Mark's Square. It's fantastic. However, sometimes, can you see all those people that are in a row right there? You can test your balancing skills by walking along raised sidewalks. It is fun for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, actually, anytime you go to Venice, you'll see stacks of elevated sidewalks that look like folded picnic tables waiting to be set up. And when the high water hits, they just put out the raised sidewalks. Local people pull on their hip boots, literally, and they slosh around. But the tourists, we don't have our hip boots, so we have to walk on those raised sidewalks. You'll see people in the restaurants slowly taking their feet up and putting them on the chair the next to them as the water goes higher and higher and they continue enjoying their drink or whatever.
They have their wet backs and just get the water out of the shop, go on in, no problem. They're used to it. Venice is a city of people who know how to adapt.
That's what they have to adapt. And this is the lowest part of Venice. It's the square right in front of St. Mark's. And it's disturbing because it relates to climate change, but it's also just a dramatic time to be in Venice. Also, when you're in Venice, and what our most popular tour of all the 40 itineraries, by the way, is that Venice, Florence, Rome. It's just nothing but Italian big city thrills. And I understand on that tour, we have a lagoon tour, and we go out to Murano. And Murano is a lot of people, a highlight for a lot of people, because you get to see the tradition of glass blowing, don't you?
Yes. And again, just because I'm a tour guide doesn't mean I don't like the occasional souvenir. Here's my little Venetian city right here with Murano glass. I absolutely love it. And on the VFR tour, Venice, Florence, Rome, we go on a lagoon tour. So your guide might take you to Murano or Burano or Torcello, which I think you're going to show us a slide of in a moment. But that glass is really part of an ancient tradition, as is the lace making on Burano.
So these are different islands in the lagoon, and it's a great way to make a little side trip. There's ferry service, just like there would be bus service in a normal terra firma world. And Murano would be the place for glass. Burano is the place for lace. My favorite ornament on my tree is a little lace butterfly. And I met the lady who made it, and it's just a treasure that I picked up in Burano. Another cool thing about Burano is the beautiful pastel buildings. It's just a sweet small town version of Venice before going out.
Filled with people who live there too. I saw a little girl bringing lunch home with her dad in a bucket.
And here's I never thought about this, but look at all the little boats there. Those boats are practical. It's like parking your car. For the Venetian, you need a boat to get around, and those are practical family vehicles right there. If you're interested in the story of Venice, of course, it started as kind of a refugee camp from people after the fall of Rome. Barbarians were just rampaging the countryside, making life miserable for farmers and little villagers on the mainland. And finally, some of the mainland people just thought, I've had it with this. I'm moving out into the lagoon, and let's just hope the barbarians don't like water. They moved out into the lagoon, deforested that part of the mainland to make all these timbers to pound into the mud to give themselves foundations, and they first settled on the island of Torcello. And Torcello has the oldest church in Venice, I believe, right there. But the land is now open farmland, and the population moved to other islands. But it's a very, very powerful trip to go to Torcello to see a little bit of the roots of Venice, isn't it?
Yeah, and I adore it, especially after the crowds of St. Mark's. It's just such a little retreat here. I think there's less than 20 people who live there full time. And so going back to that 7th century church there with some Byzantine additions, it's really fantastic.
And I can just tell right now, when you say 7th century and Byzantine additions with confidence, with gusto, as if you know it and studied it. And I know for a tour member to be walking around with you to help make some sense out of all of this history, it's really, really a beautiful experience. Hey, Anna, when it comes to Venice, as a tour guide, what's your biggest challenge in your work as a tour guide in Venice?
Well, the hardest thing for any tour guide is probably keeping people in line, but I mean that literally in Venice, because some of the little alleyways, the calli, are only this wide. So you have to walk single file and be respectful of the people on the island who live, well, on the various islands who live there, and of course the other people traveling through. So always stay to the right, and then Betta, Miss Venice herself, will be very proud of us.
And you have a sensibility there that I'm very proud of with our guides. We're not going to the zoo and taking pictures of people that are just there on display. These are real communities, real families, and we are honored to be able to visit there, and we need to be respectful. And remember, there's people living here. So I'm glad that you guys have that sensibility. What's your biggest joy? What's a moment that you can hardly wait to take your next group to experience in Venice? I just love those special moments as a tour guide that we get to share with people.
Like, yeah, oh gosh, well, the gondola, as I say, I love the traghetto, but also seeing local people work. So how do you drive a gondola? You need a gear shift. So we can take you to show you how they make the gear shift called the forcola. And there's only like 4 masters left who make them. So if you want a job next summer, maybe you can be an apprentice.
There you go. Okay. Hey, well, if you're going on your own, you've got all that information in the Venice guidebook. And of course, if you want a tour, we've got it nailed. We just love taking groups around. And 3 hours south of Venice by car, by bus, or by train, and you get to Florence. And we just hop on our bus. It's not this bus. That was, I would say, what, 40? Oh my goodness, 40 years ago.
Judging by the hairstyle, yeah.
Years ago, we would have just a little bus and a bunch of crazy people. But now, of course, we have a big, comfortable bus and we go to the capital of the Renaissance, Florence. And if you climb to the top of that dome, you look out over the city that was the epicenter of that cultural explosion that brought Europe out of the Middle Ages and into the modern world. And I love the fact that in every case, in Venice, Florence, and Rome, we stay in a hotel, which is right in the old center. You can walk. I was just in Rome with a group and we walked from the Trevi Fountain in the Spanish Steps back to our hotel. I was just in Venice and you walk just before breakfast, you can take a stroll around St. Mark's Square. And of course, in Florence, the mayor is making the downtown part essentially traffic free. And we may have to park our bus in a piazza nearby and walk with our bags to our hotel. But the beauty of that is you can hear the birds tweeting in Florence because there's no trucks going around and very little traffic. So it's a beautiful thing. Florence is on the Arno River, straddles the Arno River. There we have the Ponte Vecchio, the old bridge. And on one side of the city is the center where all the famous sites are. And on the other side, on the left, in this case, you've got the other side of the tracks. In the United States, we say the wrong side of the tracks. Well, all over Europe, those cities were not built up along the train line. The cities in Europe were built up centuries before there were trains, when rivers provided the best transportation. So instead of the wrong side of the tracks, in Europe, you've got the, quote, wrong side of the river. Think about it. In Paris, the left bank. In London, you've got the South Bank. In Seville, you got Triana. In Rome, you've got Trastevere. And in Florence, you've got Oltre Arno. In every case, that's where the character is. That's where the artisans are. That's where the people who didn't fit in settled. And that's where there's some beautiful history to check out on the other side of the tracks. Here we have the symbol of the architectural Renaissance, the Duomo, the first great dome of the Renaissance built by Brunelleschi, kicking off the architectural Renaissance. And what I just love is how Italians really take care of their patrimony and they share it with us in a beautiful way. This is one of my favorite museums in all of Italy. It's the Museum of the Cathedral, the Museo del Duomo.
Yes.
What's your take, Anna, on the great museums that we'll be able to look at in our either with the group or with our free time while we're in Florence?
Well, this particular museum used to be one of the saddest museums in Florence. They had a complete overhaul. And again, this is a theme with me. I cried the first time I saw it redone because they've done such a magnificent job of showing all the works of art that were on the baptistry, on the bell tower, on the cathedral. And you see it right there in the Museo dell'Opera del Duomo. It's fantastic.
And the beautiful thing, which makes me cry with joy also, is they've taken those treasures out of the acidic air and protected them inside a museum like this. And then it's really a beautiful experience. I was there just 2 months ago. And no, it was just 1 month ago.
It was 1 month ago. It wasn't that long ago.
Oh, you were in Florence 1 month ago. And it was great to go into that museum and see the original panels by Ghiberti from the baptistry, to see a Pietà by Michelangelo. So beautiful. And then we walk for a few minutes to the Piazza Signoria. When we come here, we're surrounded by buildings that go back centuries. And of course, we're looking up at the City Hall, the Palace of the Medici. And right next to that is a attached building called the Offices. And of course, in Italian, offices is
Uffici, but here in Florence, Uffizi.
I love that you speak Italian, because when we take a tour, the guide teaches us a little bit of the local language and also a little bit of the local liquid language. Chin chin.
Chin chin. Alla tua.
I'm loving my spritz. I was almost I actually uncorked my wine bottle tonight And I decided, no, I'm going to have a spritz. And it's just a festive drink. I really love it. Hey, speaking of festive, when you step into the Uffizi, you've got this celebration of nature and life and freedom and love and beauty. And it is all about Botticelli. I love Botticelli. Newly restored paintings. We've got Spring and we've got the Birth of Venus. But from a traveler's point of view, more important than that, we have a local art historian to tell us all about it. Can you tell us?
Here's Riccardo. Riccardo's, I mean, gosh, he's fantastic. His whole team is wonderful. Because the Uffizi, it's not as big as, say, the Louvre or the Vatican museums, but it's just so many masterpieces packed in. You really need a guide to help you understand the evolution of Florentine painting from the Middle Ages to the Renaissance and beyond. And I could listen to Riccardo speak all day if he would let me crash his tour.
I could too. I mean, I'm so lucky because I get to drop in on the tours. I get to have these wonderful guides help me when I'm updating my guidebooks and working on our audio tours. And these guys they've found their niche and they know how to bring the art to life. And we promote our tours in a way where we attract people who have an attention span, people who are curious, and people who do want to learn from their travels and take home a better understanding of that. And when I look at this line here, it reminds me of why I am so proud of our tours, Anna, because with our tours, we recognize the value of your time as well as your money, and we do not wait in lines. The average traveler spends a lot of time waiting in lines, and when you take a tour, if the tour has got its act together, you have reservations made long in advance, and then the guide knows just what door to go in. You've got your reservation, you've got your local art historian waiting for you, and you are in there and surrounded by all that artistic wonder before these people even get near that door. It's a really important dimension of travel these days.
Shout out to the Rick Steves office for making those reservations, because they're hard to make these days. So it's just fantastic walking up to the front and getting right in. So
in
thank
fact,
you.
I know our staff literally has to be up in the wee hours in the morning because they
know
at
3 a.m. Huh. How strange.
like you. And because they know exactly what minute the tickets are going to be available for the museum, and they have to be right there to snap it up. So we have a clear and well-established entry time for our groups. And that would be the same for the academia and going to see Michelangelo's David. Look at this right here. David is standing like on a high altar of humanism. We walk past the prisoners by Michelangelo, and we look at humanism. This is the embodiment of humanism. When we look into the eyes of David, we're looking into the eyes of Renaissance man. And of course, in the Bible, it was the shepherd boy killing the giant. And that's because of his faith in God, and God empowered him. If you look at his right hand, it's bigger than it should be because that's symbolic of the power of the hand of God. But when we look at David, we're also looking at Florence, rising above its crude, bully city-state neighbors back when Italy was fragmented in a bunch of competing city-states. That's one reason why they paid Michelangelo to make David the symbol of Florence. The other reason, which I think is more fundamental and more exciting yet, is that when we're looking into the eyes of David, we are looking into the eyes of modern man. This is now humankind stepping out of the darkness and the superstition of the Middle Ages, sussing up the challenges of the future and saying, yes, I can take it. And we're going to go there. And I'm just so inspired by that. And isn't it fun to be able to take groups to these great art treasures and to let people be taken back 500 years, to appreciate it in its context, to know who paid for it and why.
Yes. And I'm also taken back to my semester abroad and the very first time I saw this guy, and I can still see myself like from above wearing a shirt the same color as a spritz. And the day that I stop being awed by David is the day that life should be over.
You know, I'm thankful for that too, because you and I've been going back to these sites as tour guides several times a year for many, many years, and it's still a thrill. That's, to me, the mark of a guide. A guide has to have that contagious enthusiasm, and you can't fake it. It's real. And for us to be able to share it, like I guess right here, this is one of the great turn-ons for a tour guide, is to stand in front of David with 25 Americans who've dreamed about seeing it. And right now, I can give it context. I can explain why it's important. And then I can say, now you have free time to enjoy the greatest statue that you might
I
see.
make all of my tour members, I say, you must walk around 3 times, once clockwise, once counterclockwise, and once whatever way you want, because he changes, he breathes, and you'll always see something different.
He breathes. I love it. Now that's, this is classical art, of course, but there's modern art. There's art happening right now. And Anna, you went from Siena all the way to Florence to meet me a month ago with our group as I was doing a guide mentoring tour. We had 20 wonderful new guides. They were all professional guides. They knew how to guide very well, but they needed to learn specifically what makes a Rick Steves tour special. And you showed us how all of our guides work together to find local contacts to enliven our tours with experiences. And you introduced us to Katerina. Tell us about Katerina, please.
You can't get much more lively than her. So she's from Sardinia, but she's lived in Florence since she was 19, and she studied classical art at the Accademia where David lives. And then she found this new technique of flash art because she does it in a flash. And next time you come, Rick, you're going to paint a painting with
I was very modest. I refused to do it, but Tara, one of our guides, Tara did it, and you can see what Tara did. And it just took 10 minutes, and it was a wonderful souvenir. But this is the kind of, we did it to show, this is Tara and Ben and me were the 3 people from our office, and we had 20 new Rick Steves guides, and we wanted to show them how for $100 or something, you can hire Katerina for half an hour or 45 minutes and give an experience that will be remembered forever for 25 Americans visiting Florence. But that's what we do. We find and capture these experiences, and we connect with a local artisan or a local person who's got a love of life, who, like so many great Europeans, have found their niche and enjoy sharing it. Speaking of niches and highlights and lifelong memories, gelato is something people have high on their list. And when you're in Florence, you're sort of in the capital of gelato, aren't you?
You are. It is a perfectly valid, I insist that you partake in this cultural activity, because gelato was invented in the 16th century in Florence. And so you should try all of the flavors, but if you only try 2, fior di latte, and my favorite, pistacchio.
Was it fior di latte? What is that if you translated that?
Flour of milk, which doesn't sound really appetizing. But
like fancy cream. And then pistacchio, which would be pistachio. Oh, that's a very good tip. Pistachio or chocolate. My favorite in Florence is riso.
Riso, yes. Vivoli, their riso is the best.
Rice, that's rice. I like there's something about rice gelato that's really good, but you got to go there and check it out yourself. Of course, you can do your shopping. You'll have a little free time for shopping. I just love wandering around the streets and just feeling the energy. And it's great now that we're coming out of the pandemic, the energy is back in the streets. That's what I'm so thankful for. If you need to wear a mask or if you want to wear a mask, that's great. But we're vaccinated and we're traveling as safe as we can. And I think if you're comfortable traveling in the United States, you should be comfortable traveling in Europe too. Everybody has to make their choice of what's their comfort level. But we had a great year traveling last year. We're going to have a better year this year. In fact, I think 2023 is going to be marked by the same problems and challenges we had in 2019. Too many people. This is the Uffizi courtyard in the middle of a busy day. That was a couple of years ago, but this could be this coming season. What do you think, Anna?
Oh, it will be. I can guarantee it will be.
People are all clamoring to get into the Uffizi gallery. It's a mob scene, but with a tour, you've got your reservations, and that's so important. And I want to remind you, everybody has to go to these marquee attractions, but there are other sites that never have a crowd. We just were raving about the Museo del Duomo. There's never a crowd at the Museo del Duomo, and it's arguably as good as the Uffizi. So remember, you've got alternatives that are less famous, but without the crowds. And here's that same square after dinner. Look at that. You could marvel at the crowds, or you could have a romantic stroll after dinner. Get out at night, and remember, you can cross the bridge into the Arno for more atmosphere. And if it's after dark, you're going to encounter some great street musicians. I love the buskers in Europe. And in Florence, doesn't the mayor really take care to watch the quality of these guys and make sure there's a proper spot for them? And it's like little concerts popping around all over the town after dark.
Yeah, you have your spot right here is the Ponte Vecchio. I've heard many a great concert here. I've even bought a few CDs because those still exist. And during the day, of course, this is where you might buy jewelry. I did buy some jewelry as well. But
historically, it's where the gold and silver shops are. One
Can't be
thing,
helped.
I'm very skeptical about different ways to take group time because I really want to be, I'm jealous about it. I don't want our guides to do redundant things. I don't want our guides to do techie things. I don't want our guides to have the groups uninspired so they sit in their hotel rooms and watch TV. I want every hour to be lovingly taken care of and to get the most experience. And something I've really become a great believer in is food tours and cooking experiences. And I went to the cooking session in the Alta Arno, and it was wonderful. Everybody cooked, and then we sat down and we ate what we cooked, and it was good.
It's one of my favorite days. I don't do anything. I just watch, observe, and eat. Fantastic.
Everybody loves it. Everybody loves it. And then here we are. We're leaving our hotel in Florence. And I showed this shot just because I want to remind people when you take a tour, when you take a Rick Steves tour, you carry your own bags. We make a point of letting everybody know if you take one of our tours, you will carry your own bags. And some of our hotels do not have elevators. It's just a good way to shape the clientele. And it's a good reminder that we prefer funky old, centuries-old hotels right in the old center. I believe this is the Torre Guelph, and it's got a medieval tower you can go to the top of for a view of the city after dinner if you want to just from your bedroom walk up the tower. But here we're all gathered outside the hotel, and we're going to roll our bags or carry our bags to the bus. We are a mobile group, and we are packing light. We're heading south. Look at that. I just found a shot of you in Rome with the hand of Constantine pointing up, and I thought, I'm going to stretch that out and direct us. We're going with Anna Piperato past your hometown of Siena, and we're going down to Rome. Oh, man, the eternal city. And remember, in its day, the word Rome did not mean the city. It meant the entire civilized world. Everything was either Roman or not speaking Latin or Greek. That would mean barbarian, just somewhere between people and animals. And of course, the Roman Empire did not last forever. The Pax Romana, this is Rome at its greatest extent here, lasted a couple hundred years, and then it fell. It started in 500 BC. It grew for 500 years. It peaked for 200 years. It fell for 300 years. And by 580, it was gone. Look at how central Rome is to that right there. Rome is in the middle of that vast empire. And today, whether you're going on your own with a guidebook so you can be your own tour guide, or if you're trusting us to provide the rudiments of your experience in Rome, you'll find Rome is a city you can go back to all your life. Here we have in the center of Rome, the Colosseum. They had 50,000 numbered seats. They could fill it and empty it as quickly and efficiently as we do our super stadiums today. And it's just such a thrill to go in there with your guide.
I think it was more efficient then than it is now because they keep changing the ticketing system. But don't worry, we'll take care of that for you. But just follow the instructions in the book otherwise. But yeah, I'd have loved to have seen it.
It is a trick to get in there. But, our challenge as a guide is to help people envision the first city on this planet that had 1 million people. I mean, can you imagine a marble Manhattan 2,000 years ago, right there? And if you travel a little bit, if you have a good guide to help put it together, you can do the Caesar Shuffle today. This is me a long, long time ago, doing one of my most favorite things, helping travelers put together the rubble of Rome. And today, when we're in Rome, we employ some wonderful guides. Anna, you could do it, I could do it, but it's so fun to get a local guide, isn't it, that really specializes in these sites. What are we seeing here?
Well, this is Francesca, the famous Francesca, who is one of the best guides, I think, on the planet. Sorry about it, Rick, but she is fantastic. And again, kind of like Venice, Rome is a city that is unlike any other, and it's wonderful to have someone who grew up. And again, imagine, Francesca always says, going to high school and trying to get through history. You're lucky if you get to Napoleon by the time you graduate. So much to know, but she places it in context, and a way that we can all understand and appreciate, because Rome is more than just gladiators.
Anna, last month when we were in Rome when I was teaching the guides to be Rick Steves guides, we booked Francesca to come in, and she gave the guides a tour. And then we went to the Lancelot Hotel where our group stay. And we had a wonderful lunch, and Francesca used our time there to give us a talk about how to give a good lecture. And she was just an inspiration to all of us, because our challenge is to walk down the Via Sacra there and imagine what it was like on a festival day, as the emperor was there and as booty and plunder was being brought in from the barbarian conquests, and just to bring to life that amazing city, to look at the propaganda in the triumphal arches, and to imagine this, the Basilica Maxentius in its heyday. When I looked at those arches for a long time, I thought those were big. And then I realized those are just side niches in a basilica.
Yeah.
And if you look at that nub on the left there up at the top of those arches, that's just the nub of a massive arch that would go all the way across this field that's the size of a football field. And then
that finger was there. That giant, enormous statue of Constantine was once in there as well.
Right. It's just so hard to imagine the magnificence of Rome. It was veneered with colored marble. It had fountains and, of course, people in togas strolling around. That's our challenge when we go there, is to just imagine the magnificence and the splendor of Rome at its zenith. And if you know where to look, you can still find original doors on their original hinges that have been swinging for 2,000 years. This is the building that really, really blows people away, doesn't it, Anna?
And also, breaking news in the paper today, they have figured out how they made the concrete. Insert science explanation here, but now MIT scholars have just figured out why it still works and why the concrete the Romans used is self-healing. So what the Romans did 2,000 years ago, we might be putting in modern architecture today.
Wow. Well, the Romans, when you look at the Romans were into engineering and practicality. And they didn't waste a lot of money. They would build with no nonsense bricks and concrete, and then put a marble veneer over it so it looks like it was built with marble. And then it still stands 2,000 years later. Of course, this is the Pantheon, the temple to all the gods. And when you step inside there, you're really stepping inside to the best preserved Roman interior left. And when you look up at that oculus, you realize, wow, this was built to connect portals with the heavens through that sunbeam. And this is a perfect Roman kind of aesthetics. It's a circle, it's a sphere inside of a cube, exactly as wide as it is tall, 140 feet, with this amazing oculus. Don't you love taking Americans into this building and letting them have their travel dreams come true at that very moment?
Yes. And this is another one of those things like Michelangelo's David. If you cease to be awed when you enter inside the Pantheon, I don't know what I can do for you, because the space is fantastic. Of course, now it's a church, and you've got, kings of Italy and Raphael buried there. But you can just imagine the Emperor Hadrian coming through on Rome's birthday, bathed in light, and realize that Rome really was the center of the world, the caput mundi.
Oh, I love it. And, that's the goosebumps that you get when you step in there really are rewarding from a traveler's point of view. And when you think of the greatest church in Christendom here, St. Peter's Basilica, it's two buildings that we've just seen put together. I mean, this was designed in the Renaissance times, and you've got the Basilica Maxentius that I was showing you the big arches before, and then you put the Pantheon dome on top of the Basilica Maxentius, and you essentially have what they designed there to be the capital of Christendom. This is the spiritual.
A few steps along the way in between, but we'll go with that explanation.
That's good. And you've got here the spiritual home of 1 billion Roman Catholics. And you've even got the obelisk that St. Peter would have seen on the day he was martyred, right there in what was a chariot race course, don't you?
Yeah, well, it's absolutely, it's just, and this gives you no idea of the scale, because it's absolutely massive.
Oh, there's massive. The beautiful dome designed by Michelangelo.
And that is based, of course, on Brunelleschi's dome in Florence, which, of course, was based on the Pantheon. So we can trace that lineage back 2,000 years, and our Capitol building today is based off of this. So we're connected, Italy and the United States as well.
And when the Pope hired Michelangelo to build a great dome, he said, I believe he said, I can build a dome bigger, but not more beautiful than the dome in my hometown by Brunelleschi.
He was very proud of being a Florentine.
And what I'm proud of as a tour guide, Anna, is knowing where the shade is when I'm going to give a little history talk. It's hot in the summer, and here we have a group huddled in the shade of the obelisk that has stood there for so long as we prepare to enter the greatest church in Christendom. Say hello to St. Peter with his bushy beard and his key, and then you get inside and you look up above, and at the base of the dome it says, Tu es Petrus, in Latin, 6 foot tall letters. You are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. It is so exciting to go into this space and just be wowed and just think this is the most glorious space that could be built 500 years ago, and it's glorious to this day. And of course, in there, you'll find the Pietà by Michelangelo. And next door in that little country, the Vatican, the smallest, I believe it's the smallest country in Europe, you've got the greatest art collection, arguably, in Europe, and long, long hallways, lots of crowds, and some of the finest statues and paintings and artistic treasures anywhere in Europe.
You can't do it in a day. Rome was not built in a day. You can't see it in one or a week or a year or a lifetime. So you can't do it all when you come and visit, but you can pick and choose places to visit. And then your guide will take you to the highlights, just like in the Uffizi. But here, I think you really need one for moral support sometimes, just to get through those crowds, because prayers don't always work. You need encouragement.
I'm always give a little prayer of thanks when I have a guide that can explain to me the importance of all this art. Raphael's beautiful School of Athens here, and of course, Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel. Oh my goodness, to be there, beautifully restored, appreciating the brilliance of Michelangelo and the humanism of the Renaissance. And then
still, if I may, Rick, I actually had a client, he had confession in the Sistine Chapel on my last tour of the year.
Is that right?
Yeah. But it's still a working church. So yes, he is cleansed.
Yeah. Those who can be, if you're not a Roman Catholic, are ready to become a Catholic when you visit St. Peter's, it makes it a better experience. I learned that a few years ago. Hey, after dinner, Rome does a beautiful job of lighting up its buildings, and you've got an opportunity to lace together these beautiful buildings. The whole city really is impressively walkable, and you can sit and pay too much for a cup of coffee and enjoy the parade of life go by. You can enjoy some beautiful, beautiful food. Doesn't that look appetizing? Oh my goodness.
And unlike Venice, it's a lot easier to navigate because it was built on a grid plan. And then, so left will get you back to where you started.
That's great. And I just love the evening stroll. We do that with our groups. We can walk from the Campo di Fiori to Piazza Navona, to the Pantheon, to the Trevi Fountain, to the Spanish Steps. It's a delightful walk, lacing together all these places you've heard about all your life. Here's the Piazza Navona.
Yeah, the Florence fountain is, again, it's so overwhelming. Although this picture is dated because now it's illegal to sit on the Spanish steps.
Well, it's good we have a guide to keep us from getting in trouble there. We got to know the latest laws when we're in Rome. And but it's not illegal to throw a coin into the Trevi Fountain, that's for sure.
It's encouraged because all that money is collected every night and it goes to the local food bank. So you're a part of a tradition, but you're also helping the local community. So do it.
I just love when I hang out with somebody who has tour guiding in there, woven into their DNA. It's in your blood. I knew you would have a good little insight into the coins and tossing the Trevi Fountain. So what happens to the coins then?
So that basically if you get up really, really early in the morning, there's nobody there except for the guy with the big rake who goes in and collects all the coins. I don't know exactly how long it takes actually, because I can't get up that early. I'm sorry. And then they take the money to the Roman food bank. So
look at that. And plus your coin makes sure that you're going to come back to Rome. So it's doing double duty.
It works.
There you go. Lots of fun. Hey, you know what I'd like to do right now is I'm just going to take a moment and I'm going to share with people my homepage, because I think that you and I have done a good job of piquing people's curiosity about Rome and Venice and Florence. And thank you very much, Anna, for that. And I want to remind people that we're celebrating travel this month. Every night we're having a travel festival. And this is the second night. I've booked on until almost every night until January 30th. We're going to be meeting like this. And of course, we're selling tours. We've got 5,000 tours we need to sell. We've sold 25,000. We've booked out 30,000 seats for 2023. So we'd love to have you on board. But I'm just as enthusiastic for people picking up a map, picking up on a guidebook, making the reservations themselves and traveling independently. And if you go to ricksteves.com, you've got a world of information. Go to ricksteves.com. If you're interested in the tours, you just click on the tour tab, and right here, you'll see our Festival of Europe. And you can click into the Festival of Europe, and you can see what's happening. Oh, tonight is Rick and Anna Piperato. Tomorrow is Lisa, and the next night, Rick's going to be with Federico in Spain, and so on. So there are plenty of activities and sources of information we've got for you there. Of course, another thing you'll want to do if you book onto the tours, if you're looking at the tour page here, you can drill into this list here and you go Italy tours, and then you can see which tour you're talking about. Well, here's the Best of Venice, Florence, and Rome in 10 days tour for 2023. So it's $2,800 plus air. And then you look at this and you got all the details, and here are dates and prices, and you can see what is still available. So if we look at these itineraries, we have a lot of tours that are sold out. If it says join the wait list, these are the sold out dates. But at this time of year, we typically have plenty of seats still available. A lot of these are filling up fast. 1 seat available, 1 seat available, 2 seat available, but a lot of dates are still open, and you have that opportunity to check that out. So that's the tour page. If you also are interested in doing any shopping, you can go into the store and pick up a book. If you're curious about our TV shows, you've got every show we've ever produced right here. If you're thinking about Italy, did I make any TV shows about Italy? Yeah, I think I've made 18 shows about Italy. Here you have 9 hours of information at your fingertips. And that would be a great way to get a sense of how I would put together your vacation if you're on your own or if you're dreaming about taking a tour. We've got our Festival of Europe page. We've got our Monday night travels. This is every Monday. It's going to be 4 Monday nights during this month, and then we're going on after that. And we've got lots more here at ricksteves.com. So that is a source of information for you. And today, as I mentioned, our source of information really is just celebrating what we can do together when we are exploring Europe. And I think what I'm going to do is just take a quick review of our itineraries, and then, Anna, we're going to welcome people to call in with, or we're going to answer some questions from people who have signed up in the various in the tab for Q&A there. But again, this is our spaghetti map with the 40 itineraries that we like to do. If you're curious how it breaks out, look at this. About 25% of the 25,000 people who have signed up for a Rick Steves tour this year so far have signed up for Italy. And, we've got Spain and Portugal is popular. The British Isles and Ireland and Scotland are really popular. Central Europe, France, Greece, and Turkey. My Way tours, those are those discounted tours where you have an escort, but not a full guide, and you're pretty much on your own to do your own thing. Eastern Europe and the Best of Europe. So we've got lots of tours to offer. Again, this is the Best of Italy in 17 days. You fly into Milan and you start on the beautiful romantic Lake Como. You head over into the Italian Alps, the Dolomite. I'm going to go there hiking this summer, God willing. Then you go to Venice, you go to Florence, you go to the Italian Riviera, the Cinque Terre, you go to Siena, and you can see Anna doing her grocery shopping. And we go to the town of St. Francis and a little bit of Umbria. And then we finish with a finale in Rome. That's a cool itinerary. I could not get enough of that. That's all the biggies in Italy. If you only have 9 days, this is our estimate for the best, most diverse 9 days in Italy. Of course, you've got Rome, you've got a hill town, Volterra, you got the Riviera, the Cinque Terre, and you finish with Florence. If you have done the highlights of Italy and you want more, go farther south. And this is the best of southern Italy in 13 days. If you want small town and countryside Italy and all the artisans and the crafts and the intimate side of Italy, you might want to go village Italy. And here we have the village. I took my family on that one year, and it was a wonderful experience. If you're curious about Tuscany, this is our new itinerary. We just started it this last year. It was a huge success. I think I very well may make this my tour for 2023. And of course, what Anna and I have been talking about is Venice, Florence, and Rome. On a Rick Steves tour, I just want to explain to you the philosophy of our tours, what is included. all the group sightseeing. There's no charge for extra sightseeing. If the group does it, it's included in the cost. Small groups, instead of 50 people on a 50-seat bus, we've got between 24 and 28 people on a 50-seat bus. Everybody has lots of room. Basically, you get 2 seats per person. You got the full-time services of a professional Rick Steves guide like Anna Piperato and local experts like the ones we introduced to you in this last slideshow. All the group transportation, accommodations in memorable hotels, centrally located. And memorable is the kind of hotels some people would think are a little bit too characteristic, but we like them that way. I just love the funky old world hotels in beautiful old palazzos and so on. All the breakfast, half your dinners, all the tips. I'm so thankful we don't have to concern ourselves with tips anywhere. We tip everybody royally for you, so you can just have a great time, and you get a tour guidebook and you get a money belt. So that's what's included in all of the tours. I also want to remind you that we're going to make a festival a little more fun this month, because every Monday for the next 3 Mondays, we're going to have a drawing and give away a tour. And if you want to have your name in the bucket digitally, tomorrow, you're going to get an email. All you got to do is fill out that little form. It'll take you about 30 seconds, and you've got a pretty good chance of winning a tour. So you'll have all the information coming your way with an email tomorrow on that. And some of you will not win a free tour. So the best I can offer you is $100 off. If you book any tour this month and use the promo code FEST23, you will get $100 off for each seat that you book. Once again, every night at 6 o'clock West Coast time and at 9 o'clock East Coast time, we're together celebrating Europe. And if you enjoyed tonight's look at Italian cities, I want to remind you, Lisa's going to be doing it tomorrow in England. I'll be back on Thursday with Spain and Federico. I'll be joined by Paul from Oslo for Scandinavia on Friday. Be joined by Robin, and we'll go to Switzerland on Saturday. I'm back in Italy on Sunday, where we go to the countryside with David Torti from Orvieto. And then each Monday, all month long, I'll be doing a special Monday night travel show. Next Monday, it's Irreverent History of Europe Through the Back Door, how we started, what it was like traveling 20 or 30 years ago. The Monday after that, we've got a special event, Ethical Travels in a Warming World, talking about the realities of climate change and other ethical issues for us travelers. And on Monday, the 30th of January, we wrap it up with a grand finale. So if you want to join us, you're more than welcome any of those nights, because I'm speaking for all the guides at Rick Steves Europe, we would absolutely love to have you join us on one of our happy tours around Europe. Hey, there we go. I think Lisa might have some questions from all of our travelers to share with Anna and me.
I do. It was such an exciting romp through Italy with you guys this evening.
Anna, you were great, by the way. Thank you. I want to just drink to Anna. Thank you very much, Anna. Chin chin.
Grazie a te. Chin chin. Salute.
And I'm so glad I got fancy and I did my Aperol Spritz.
It's so much better sometimes than wine.
But this is really cool, and I love the color. Okay, Lisa, we were just enthusing about our Italian drink.
Were you frolicking in the cultural playground of Italy, Rick?
I was wishing I was a swizzle stick in the high wonders of this Italian culture.
Well, it actually leads me to the first question, because one of the viewers asked, what does chin chin actually mean? How does it translate? Now, and are there other things that you could say in that situation?
It's the clinking of the glasses. So chin chin, easy peasy. You can also say salute, which is health, or alla vostra, to your health, or a noi, to us.
Annoy. I like that. Annoy. I've never heard that. And, it's just, you can remember it because some people are very annoying, and you wouldn't do that with that person. Annoy. Annoy. Here's annoy to everybody tuning in right now, dreaming about traveling in Europe.
A voi annoy. Chin chin.
Annoy. Okay.
It still goes down well at 4 a.m., I'm telling you.
I forgot it's 4 o'clock for you. That's great. You're amazing.
People are very appreciative, Anna. That's something they're saying on the Q&A. Other things that they're saying in the Q&A, people want the dirt. Which of these 3 cities is your personal favorite, and why? For both of you.
Whoa.
I didn't know there was going to be difficult questions like this.
All right.
To live in Florence, to dream in Venice, and to live in history, Rome.
That's a very diplomatic answer.
But it's true. It's hard to choose. It depends on the time of year, I suppose. But
I would say, if you've never been to Italy, or if it's your first time to Europe, you could make a case for Venice or Florence. But I've been going back for a long time, and there's one city that is, its charm and its magic and its offerings endure forever to me. There's always new stuff, and it's Rome. Rome is right there with Paris as the capital of Europe. So I love all those cities, but I would say Rome.
Okay, well, that leads me into another question. Cindy wanted to know, what is a good backdoor or less visited museum in Rome that you would recommend that people might not have heard of?
Well, it's not a backdoor museum, but the Capitoline museums are never crowded, and they're fantastic. The last time I was in Rome, I spent a weekend. I went both days and made friends with Roberto, who works there, and he showed me how to get to different rooms, and we had coffee together each day. So I love those museums, and you can make friends.
It's part of the Caesar Shuffle. You go from the Colosseum to the Forum up to the top of the Capitoline Hill, and there you got those two great museums, never crowded, and then you walk to the Pantheon.
Otherwise, the Galleria Colonna, just went there for the first time. The Colonna family had a pope in it, of course. Absolutely incredible for the house, the villa, the gardens, the art, the grandeur. I was blown away.
That's I've never heard of that, but there are noble families that share their palaces. What's the one right off the Via del Corso near Piazza Venezia?
The Doria Pamphili.
Pamphili, yeah. And it comes with an audio guide by, nobleman, Prince Fancy Guy Pamphili.
Prince Fancy Guy, that is his name, yes.
Fancy Guy. And he introduces you all his fancy little furniture and his mama and the painting and all this kind of thing. And it's so intimate. The Doria Pamphili. That's a good, there's so much in Rome.
It's right in the center of town. So it's front door, but back door experience.
You got it. You can walk right there from the Pantheon in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Those are both very exciting answers. Thank you. Let's see. Lisa Pucci and a gentleman named Herman wanted to know if you had any suggestions for spending Easter in Italy, specifically Florence. Anything they should know?
In Florence, they have the explosion of the carro so basically in front of the cathedral there will be thousands and thousands of people. So you could watch on TV or in a bar maybe, but they light this cart filled with fireworks, and the Holy Spirit comes down, and it's really quite a display. It's busy, but you can go to mass even if you're not Christian, just to really take in the whole experience, because Easter is the most important feast day on the Christian calendar, and fireworks and explosions. So
I was there on Easter, and this was like 5 years before we did our Easter special, but I knew we were going to do an Easter special on TV. And I thought, we're not going to come to Florence just for this, as we're shooting all these Easters around Europe. But we're here, it's Easter, so I got my crew up early on Sunday, and Easter Sunday went there, and they have this amazing medieval fireworks bonfire display ready to explode, right? And they bring it in on a cart. And then when I was a kid, my favorite thing was to have these little wind-up airplanes that were on a string, and it could go, and that's what they have. They have a string that goes from the church to the explosive cart, if I remember correctly. And is that the Holy Spirit? And it comes.
Yes. Luckily, the Holy Spirit didn't have the same effect on Mary, but.
No, that's right. Yeah. And it was beautiful. And we filmed it. And if people are curious about traveling in Easter, there's a website called ricksteves.com. And this Rick Steves, he loves to do TV shows about things like that. And it's called European Easter. And we did Easter in Spain. We did Easter in Italy. We did Easter in Croatia, and we did Easter in Greece. And all of those are beautiful celebrations. And we had great things to shoot in Rome, in Florence, and in Tuscany with the help of our local guides like Anna. So that's what I would say is go to the website, look up the Easter show, and then watch that. Hey, I got to remind you guys while I'm sitting here, this is the first time I have ever held this book up in public. This is Italy for everybody, because when you go to Italy, whether you know it or not, you'll be a food lover. And I've got a friend named Fred Plotkin, who's the go-to guy for gourmet eating in Italy. And I'm the go-to guy for dorm food. And we put it together. And it's just a very practical and very delicious coverage of Italian food. And Anna, I can hardly wait to get you a copy of this book. This book is your handbook for eating well, whether you're eating Italian in the United States or traveling on it. And I just checked on our website. It's actually there. This is the first time we've ever had it. We've worked very hard on this book. Also, I got to remind you that we've got guidebooks that cover all the places that Ann and I have been talking about. If you're not going to if you take a tour, you get the guidebook, so you don't need to buy it. I see Anna's got them on her bookshelf, which is everybody should have on their bookshelf. But every city has its guidebook. There's the big fancy one, and then there's the little more colorful one with fewer words and more fun and pictures and sidebars. And then you've got this is the best-selling guide to Europe of any book in the United States by far. The Rick Steves Italy book, because Italy's my favorite country. This one's kind of thin because I've ripped out a lot of chapters from where I went last year, but Rome is still there. And I just want to remind people that you can take a section of your guidebook. You can break the spine. Don't cover your eyes if you have children. And then you take Rome, and then you just rip it up. Look at what I'm going to do right now. I'm ripping Rome out of this big Italy book. There you go. And this now becomes Rome in my pocket. Why would I carry this big thing around when I can carry just Rome around with me? Okay. So, and I see, Anna, you've done the same thing, but practical, isn't it?
It's a ritual now. Every year I rip up your book.
The more I know you, the more I am impressed by you, young lady. That is fantastic. Okay, another question, please, Lisa.
So the Fred Plotkin Food Lovers for Italy book segues perfectly into Heidi is asking, what region do you think has the best wine in Italy?
Ooh, I'll leave that to Anna.
Well, I live in Tuscany, so that is my answer. But
Piedmont, come on.
Piemonte.
Piedmont.
But I live here, so it's cheaper to get local wine. I can get it by the liter here. It's like €3 a liter, and that's fine with me. But it really is delicious.
Yeah, Tuscan wine is great. Brunello di Montalcino, super Tuscan. That. Yep. Gotta say it. But the great fancy wines of Piedmont are pretty darn nice. So think about Piedmont and Tuscany. That's what I would say. And if you want to stretch your wine dollar, perhaps Sicily.
Yes, absolutely.
They're not famous down there, so you don't pay a premium.
But wherever you go, get the local wine. Again, ask what's fresh, what the cook recommends, and what wine to go with it. And that's because I hate making decisions. So I like it when someone else does it for me, because the best glass of wine is the one that's right in front of me.
Ooh, and it's even better if it is local. So that's great. I totally agree, Anna. That's a good idea.
Anna's giving us words to live by. So here's the last question for the evening then. What memory or what has stayed with you from Italy that's just sort of, what memory or tangible thing has stayed with you all your life when you think of Italy?
Well, I moved here, so, but I do have an answer, if I may. I did a semester abroad all those years ago. That's what got the Italy bug going, really. And every morning I would get breakfast and I would try and order in Italian and I try and figure out the coins, and I never got it right, but I tried, and the woman at the bar was so patient. And the first time I did it correctly, no mistakes, exact change. Chapeau, as they say.
Bravo. Bravo. Complimenti. That's good.
Oh, bravo, bravissimo. So yeah.
I know enough words to make people think maybe I know a few more words, but it just gets me in trouble. Complimenti. That's a good word for a traveler to know. Compliments.
Yes. Compliments, yes.
What was the question again, Lisa?
Is there a tangible memory or something that you've taken with you from Italy all your life?
You know, I was Anna's guest of honor one year for the Palio. That was amazing. I'll never forget that, and I'll never end up being finished by
But do
saying.
you remember who won? Who won that Palio, Rick? Who won?
Yeah, it was the Lupa, right? Lupa. There you go. I looked for my Lupa. No, I don't have I looked for my Palio scarf tonight, but I couldn't find it. So I just didn't have a scarf. Hey, but my most memorable thing, Lisa, I think would be, I have this moment in the Cinque Terre where I love to be at the Cinque Terre walking the waterfront promenade when the chefs are all done. And the chefs are out sitting there smoking a cigarette after a long, hard night of work and looking at the Mediterranean. And it's inky black sea under a starry sky. And you see in the distance on the horizon, the lamps of the fishermen that go in and out of sight with the swells of the waves. And those lights, they come on and off and on and off. And I think those are the lamps that the fishermen for centuries have gone out from their villages to attract the fish at night, the anchovies and all the amazing little fish. And in the morning, those fish are going to be fresh in the market. And tomorrow night, those fish are going to be on my dinner plate. And I'm going to say delicioso. And I'm so happy to be in Italy. Hey, Anna, thank you so much. You are wonderful. I had a hunch we'd have a lot of fun talking, and we certainly did. I look forward to seeing you in Siena. And also, best wishes on all the tours you're going to be guiding this summer. We've got, I'm sure, plenty of people that are going to fill those Rick Steves tour buses and put you to hard work. And I know that you love that. Lisa, you're a great guide too. And tomorrow you're going to be sharing your love of England with a lot of people. And I want to thank everybody who tuned in this evening for joining us, to remind you that we are going to meet back here at 6 o'clock West Coast time, 9 o'clock East Coast time. If you're in the middle, figure that one out. And we're going to celebrate travel together. And thank you for joining us. Happy travels and ciao.
Ciao, grazie. Chin chin.
Chin chin. Hanoi?
Hanoi.
Hanoi. I like that. Hanoi.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Lisa. Good night, Anna.
Good night.
Good night, Rick. Good night, everyone.